Hi, and welcome back to another of my favorite crafty things of 2017. Today is all about paper and adhesive. So these are two of the most critical things that we use with card making, so I thought it was important to share some of my favorites. Keep in mind there are a lot of great products out there. These are just ones that I've found are tried and true. Now, remember to go to my blog also because I have discount codes and giveaways and much more information for you, along with the rest of the series. Let's go ahead and start with cardstock and specialty papers. Now, I feel very strongly that it's important to use a high quality cardstock when making cards. You'll get better stamped results and your card will feel more substantial. So like you want to use a heavyweight cardstock for the base of your card, so it holds up nicely. Let's start with white cardstock. I find that for most of my card making and stamping, I use Neenah Solar White Classic Crest in the 110 pound. This is a very thick, high quality cardstock. It takes stamping great. It's perfect for a card base because it's nice and thick and heavyweight. And you can use any kind of inking or Copic marker on this. Now, as I mentioned, this is a heavyweight 110 pound cardstock. Now, it's important to note that not all 110 pound cardstocks are the same thickness. This is a ream of 250 sheets of the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. This is a cover cardstock. That means it's nice and heavyweight, and this is a great quality cardstock for card making. So this is, again, 250 sheets. You can see how thick that stack is because this is heavyweight. Now, this has that number, 110 pound. It also has another number next to it that's smaller, and that's almost 300. That's the grams per square meter, or the GSM. We want that number to be high too. So let's compare this to another ream of cardstock. This is also a white cardstock from Neenah that happens to be 110 pounds also. But notice how much thinner that stack of 250 sheets is. It's significantly thinner. So even though this is 110 pounds also, it's a different type of cardstock, so you really can't compare. And the GSM on this one is under 200. This one on the bottom is the Neenah Exact Index. It's like index cards. You know that the thickness of an index card, whereas the Neenah Classic Crest on the top is a cover weight. So I use that Neenah Exact Index to create the little inserts for my stamp storage, but I don't use it in crafting. So if you go to like a discount store or office supply store and you see a 110 pound cardstock, keep in mind that it may still be quite thin. That's why I recommend the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cover cardstock that you see up there at the top. You can get it in a ream like this, which is a lot of cardstock, or you can get it in 25 page packs over at some of the craft stores that I linked to. Now, keep in mind, this happens to be my favorite thick white cardstock. However, some of the online craft stores have other thick white cardstocks that will be just as heavyweight that you can try also. Now, I want to do a little more comparison between these two cardstocks so you can really see the difference, because I cannot say enough how much a heavyweight cardstock makes a difference in your card making. So on the left, we have the Classic Crest Solar White, which is the heavyweight one that I like. And on the top there to the right, we have the Exact Index, which is the thinner white cardstock. It's still a great quality cardstock. I just don't think it's the best for crafting, as it's best to have something very thick. So I have the light shining on my phone, and you can see that the Exact Index is much thinner, so more light goes through. I'm just trying to come up with a way to show the thickness better on the camera. It's kind of hard to show, but you can definitely feel a difference in person. Here is the heavier weight cardstock on the bottom, and the Exact Index is on the top. So I think you can kind of see there the thickness difference. You can also tell a difference when you go to fold this cardstock. They both fold beautifully, but you can tell that the Neenah Classic Crest is thicker and more substantial, so perfect for a card base and for your stamping. If you wanted to try this, as I mentioned, there are 25 paper packs that you can get at some online craft stores. I'll link to those. Or you can try some of the other white cardstocks that some of these online craft stores have, like the Simons's Stamp or the Gina K white cardstocks. Those are nice too. And again, I will link to 2 articles below if you want to really better understand the differences in the different types of cardstocks. Another bright white cardstock that I've been using lately is the Gina K Artist Choice cardstock. This is a very excellent quality cardstock that many people recommended to me for using with alcohol markers such as Copics or for colored pencil. This is also a 110-pound, high-quality, very thick cardstock. It's bright white, and it has what they say is like a little more tooth to it, so it's better for coloring. Again, I'm just starting to use this lately, and I really do like the results that I get. So that's another one that you can consider. I also think it's good to have a Bristol smooth cardstock in your stash. I personally like the Koh-i-noor Bristol cardstock because it is a bright white cardstock. Now it comes in pads. There are 2 different sizes. This is the smaller pad, and when you cut one of the pages in half, you end up with 2 4¼ by 5½ inch pieces that are perfect for a card. There's also a larger pack. I think it's 9 by 12. Now this is again a very bright white cardstock, and the Bristol smooth cardstock kind of allows your marker to move a little bit on the surface so you can do more blending. So I use this cardstock for my real brush pens, such as these, which are the Arteza pens, or for my Zig Clean Color real brush pens. I also use this paper for my Tombow markers, so I have an opportunity to smooth the color out. So the first paper I did there was the Koh-i-noor Bristol Smooth. This paper here is the Neenah Classic Crest. Now I love this cardstock, but you can see that color doesn't move much on it. You don't get that blending. That's okay. I like the Neenah Classic Crest for stamping and everything else, but in case you want to do some blending with markers, I would try this Bristol Smooth. Here I'm putting down some color onto my different cardstocks here and kind of adding some water to it to kind of blend it out and give a watercolor look. And you can see that with the Koh-i-noor Bristol Smooth, it has much better results than on the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. So that's why I keep this cardstock on hand for any of the marker techniques that I want to do. I don't use the Bristol Smooth for Copic markers. For Copic markers, I do prefer that Neenah Classic Crest, which I showed you earlier. Now, if I do watercolor, I like to use the Tim Holtz watercolor paper. I like this because it's bright white. I also like that there's a textured side and a smooth side, and it's nice and thick. Now keep in mind, I am by no means an expert in watercolor. However, I've always had great luck with this cardstock, and I love that it is bright white. Next, I have a very unique paper that I've really been enjoying using lately. This is the Ranger Specialty Paper. This is a unique coated paper that is really fun for stamping and unique coloring techniques. It has more of a slick surface, even though it's matte. It just feels different than regular cardstock. But it is really fun to use. You can emboss on it and do lots of things with this too. Now I wanted to show you how it stamps so you can kind of get a better idea of how this is different. And I will also link to a video here where I use this cardstock for a fun technique. So here I'm going to stamp with just some basic dye ink from Gina K Designs. This is a Bossy Jossy stamp that I love so much. The small piece is the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. The big piece is the specialty paper. And you can see that it doesn't dry instantly on that specialty paper because it has a coating on it. But if I heat set this or let it dry on its own, it has a very vibrant, bold looking result to it. It's very nice and crisp. You can do all kinds of different stamping techniques on this. So this is just something fun and different to use, and you can use it for basic stamping also. I will be sure to use this specialty stamping paper again in future videos as it's so unique. Okay, let's next talk about colored cardstock. I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of great colored cardstocks out there available at craft stores. And there is a lot of overlap between different companies, or overlapping colors between different companies. However, they are all high quality, they're all nice and thick. I do recommend using thick cardstock for everything in crafting because it really makes a big difference in how the final card looks, especially for the card base. And by the way, I find having a card swatch ring like this very helpful because I can easily figure out what color I used on a project or find something that perfectly matches my project or reorder when I run low on a color. Now this year, I find that I've been buying cardstock mostly from a few different companies, and I wanted to share those with you today. But again, there are other great companies out there. Just make sure you're going for the good quality cardstock, mostly available at craft stores or those specialty paper stores. The first cardstock I would recommend is Gina K Designs cardstock. This is a great high-quality heavyweight cardstock that comes in beautiful colors. I know a lot of people like when they can have cardstock and ink that matches, and Gina K does have inks to match the cardstock and even envelopes, so you can really create a completed project that all matches. Here you can see how well the cardstock actually does match the inks. It really is a great match. This is the cardstock that I think I reach for the most. Beautiful colors. Okay, next up we have the My Favorite Things cardstock, and I've used this cardstock for many years. This again is a nice heavyweight cardstock available in many, many beautiful colors. They even have a variety pack that gives you a taste of the different colors that they have to offer. My Favorite Things also does have ink colors that coordinate with their cardstocks. Next up, we have Lawn Fawn cardstock. You can buy this in packs of single colors or multicolor packs. This, again, heavyweight, beautiful colors, great for stamping and card making. And there aren't that many colors yet in their line, but every single color is one that I really like and I reach for a lot. And there are coordinating ink colors available, and I really like the Lawn Fawn inks. Next, we have Simon's Stamp cardstock. Now, this cardstock is very similar to the others where it's heavyweight and great quality. There are inks that coordinate, and I do go to them a lot because they have a great selection of colors also. Now, last but not least, I would recommend the high quality, great colors of the Reverse Confetti cardstock. The reason I recommend her cardstock is because there are some really unique colors that I have really enjoyed using this year. Now, there are 3 colors of cardstock, particular colors I would recommend. Simon's Stamp has the Fog cardstock, that's that top sheet here. It's like a light gray that is a great base for any card. For a black cardstock, I would recommend the Gina K Designs Onyx Black cardstock. It's a nice quality dark black paper. And then finally, the Neenah Desert Storm Light Craft cardstock. This is like a light paper bag look. That's a good neutral, again, for many different card styles. So those are 3 specific colors I reach for often. Now for vellum, there are a couple different vellums that I would recommend. This is the Grafix Vellum Assortment Pad. These are all lightweight vellums. But included in here is like a shimmery silver vellum, a gold shimmery. There's like a parchment paper look. There's one that even is a vellum that looks like it has clouds on it. And then regular lightweight vellum. This is great for overlays on cards or anytime you want a vellum that isn't as thick. It's a good price point, and I've used this in many, many different videos. Now, I also recommend having a heavier weight cardstock on hand, and I'll link to the ones that I like below. Here you can see how much thicker this heavyweight vellum is. For heavyweight, I recommend something about 40 pounds, around 40 pounds. That's a good option to have. This is actually so thick you could use it for a card base if you wanted to. Another product I've used a lot this year is the Judikins Embossable Window Plastic. This is a clear acetate piece that's crystal clear, great for adding accents on cards. But what's great about this particular acetate piece is that you can heat emboss on it. It won't warp and you can get a nice crisp image. And I'll link to a video where I used it here. There are a few more specialty cardstocks that I wanted to share. First, we have the Gina K Metallic cardstock. This is available in silver, gold, and copper, and it's just like a kind of a shimmery cardstock that isn't too bold, I would say. It's nice and thick, so you can even use it for a card base. Now, lately, I have really been enjoying using different types of like handcrafted papers on my cards. Tonic just came out with a bunch of handcrafted specialty papers that all have like a shimmery look to it with lots of texture in different forms of patterns. So I'm just going to show you some of the different ones here. There are different colors and looks to them. Now these, they do die cut, but you kind of smash it down when you die cut it. It does pop up a bit, but what I like to do is just put a strip of this on the background of a card and then just have a simple die cut or sentiment on top. Makes a beautiful background and adds a lot of interest with no effort at all. This floral one is especially beautiful. Now I used one of these on a card recently just in the background, and I'll link to that video here. But you can see there are many different options available. These are handcrafted cotton papers, really beautiful, nice feel to them, and there are 5 sheets per package. I will say this paper does last you a while because you don't need to use a large piece of it or use it a lot on a card. A little goes a long way. This one is particularly cool. It has such a neat look to it. Now, along the same lines, I also have enjoyed using like thick mulberry paper or handmade paper that just comes in beautiful colors. I'll link to the particular pack that I get. You can see there are many colors in this pack. These are all 8.5 by 11 sheets. Now, I've used this in a video before, which I'll link to, and where I used a piece of blue and then I lightly inked over the texture with some distress ink and an inking tool. And it really makes that texture of the paper stand out even more. And you can die cut this too. Okay, so now we have glitter cardstocks. I'll be honest with you, I've liked many different glitter cardstocks over the years. However, a lot of them have been discontinued over time, and I'm not a fan of glitter that rubs off. I want the glitter to stay put on my paper. So I am really liking this new collection from Simon Says Stamp. These are 6x6 glitter cardstocks. The glitter doesn't rub off. It doesn't have a terrible smell. You can buy the multi-pack like you see here, or individual color packs. And they die cut beautifully. Okay, so this brings us to adhesives. Keep in mind that everybody has different needs or wants out of adhesives, so you'll get different experiences from different people. These are just the ones that I find have worked over the years for me and give the best results. I use a different adhesive for different situations, so I'll talk about that too. Now, to adhere paper to paper, there are two adhesives that I reach for. Now, these both work very similar. The first is the Kokuyo Dot Liner Adhesive. This is the long version. When you apply it to your paper, you get a row of tiny little dots of dry adhesive. The other is the Altenew Adhesive. It also puts down a line of tiny little dots. What I really like about these two adhesives is that you can rub them away if you change your mind. That is a huge, huge thing for me. I change my mind a lot when I craft, so to be able to remove that adhesive is really beneficial to me. Now, once you glue two pieces of paper together with this, it does hold nicely. Now, the Kokuyo version actually has the refills available. There is 36 meters of adhesive in one of these, and you can buy the refills for it, and they easily pop in and out. It also has a little flip lid that stays attached to the adhesive. Now, the other one is the Altenew adhesive. I don't think there are refills available for this, but they come in a pack of 3. It's smaller and it has 25 meters in it. Both of these are great adhesives. I probably reach for the Altenew one more because it fits in my hand so nice. Now, for gluing embellishments, I like to use the Distress Collage Medium Adhesive. That's the bottle that you see there on the left. I actually take that Collage Medium and put it in the fine tip bottle that you see on the right, so I can do fine tip application. But the Distress Collage Medium can be used for many, many different techniques, but I use it as a strong adhesive. It dries matte and it dries very quickly. You can glue paper together with this or pretty much anything, but I use it mostly for adding like sequins or gems to my cards. Now you can see you can get small little areas out with a regular bottle, but I like to move some of it over to this ultrafine tip bottle so I can get really tiny areas. You want to be sure to always keep this bottle closed, whether you get the bottle with a little lid or the one that has a little needle that goes in it, but you always want to keep it closed so it doesn't dry out. This Distress Collage Medium has a great price point, and as I mentioned, it dries very strong, very fast, and it dries matte, so if a little bit of it oozes out the side, you would never know. I also like the multi-medium from Ranger. That works great too. Now, for tiny areas where I don't have to worry about using a super duper strong adhesive, I like the Quickie glue pen. This is great for gluing tiny little die cuts together or getting into small areas. It goes down like a gel pen, but really it's just putting down a bit of adhesive. I've been using this one for years, and this price point is very low also. I also like to use a couple different types of double-sided adhesive. The first is the Couture Creations double-sided adhesive. What I do with this one is I remove one of the release papers to expose the adhesive, and then I put that onto a piece of cardstock so I can create my own adhesive-backed cardstock. I use this particular double-sided adhesive when I want to create my own sheet of stickers with die cutting. So let me show you. Here I have a piece of white cardstock where I put some of that Couture Creations double-sided adhesive on the back. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine with this heart die. And when I remove it, the die cuts through the cardstock and the adhesive, but not the release paper on the back since it's a little bit thicker. And that's great because it keeps all my little die cuts, in this case just one heart, on the sheet. And all I have to do is remove the heart like a sticker from a sticker sheet, and I can add it right onto my project. This is especially helpful with intricate die cuts that would be kind of difficult to remove a tiny die cut release paper from. I also like to use stick-it adhesive sheets. This is much thinner. So when you put this on the back of cardstock, you can actually cut through this completely too. So you can have just kind of a floating sticker. So with this one, again, I would stick it to the back of a piece of cardstock to create my own adhesive back cardstock and die cut it, and then I would have a die cut with adhesive on the back. So both work great. This one just happens to be thinner and cuts through completely on your die cut machine. I also think it's important to have some strong double-sided tape on hand. I prefer the Be Creative tape, which is available in many different widths. The width that I use the most is this one, that's 1/8 of an inch. It's thin so you can get it in small areas and use it for things like shaker card windows. I like this particular double-sided tape because it tears very easily. You can just tear it with your fingers or cut it, and you can remove the release paper very easily, so you don't have to fiddle with it too much. I like to use the tip of my craft knife to kind of release the release paper, but you could also use your fingernail or tweezers. Now this is super strong. It won't let go, so I find myself using this on almost every card. But once you put it down, that's where it's going to stay, so you really can't move this when you're crafting. There are a few dimensional adhesive options that I like. The first is the Scrapbook adhesive foam squares. I like these for several reasons. First, they come off the sheet very easily, and the little square release paper comes off very easily too. Now these are kind of thin with some give to them. They squish down a bit, which I like because if I use this on a card in the mail, it'll squish down without crinkling up my card, and then it pops back up. Now you can cut these in half at a diagonal to create small little triangles, which I often do for small areas. A bunch of these come in a pack, I think like 300 squares, so they last you quite a while. Another dimensional adhesive that I really like is the Darice foam adhesive strips. So this is a very narrow foam strip, and you can actually curve it a little bit. So if you do shaker cards, this is excellent. It tears very easily, has nice dimension, and it also has a little give to it. So if it gets squished down, it pops back up. Here you can see how nicely it tears. I like that this is narrow because I used to go ahead and cut my wider foam tape in thin strips, but this saves me a lot of time and it bends very easily too. I also like to use the 3M foam tape. This comes in a giant roll, a huge roll. I've used most of mine, so I have a smaller roll here. But this tears and cuts very nicely. If you buy a less expensive option, some of them don't tear nicely or stick to your scissors, so I like this higher quality option. It does have a nice stick to it. It holds nicely, but it is pretty firm. So if you use this on the back of something that you put through the mail, you want to make sure you're pretty generous with it so your cardstock doesn't get squished around it. However, I reach for this foam tape quite often. Now, if I'm creating a card where I have a large cardstock piece that I want to add onto the front of a card with dimension, I use the white craft foam piece instead of any foam tape. That way, when it goes through the mail and gets squished a bit, it doesn't get crunched. It doesn't kind of create creases. And I have a video that demonstrates this, which I'll link to here. Now, this white craft foam has some dimension to it, but it tears easy, cuts easy, and you can use your trimmer on it. So say I wanted to glue this red cardstock piece that's oh so lovely here to the front of a card with dimension, I would glue that white craft foam piece behind it. And to glue the craft foam in place, I would either use Collage medium or a strong double-sided tape like the Be Creative tape that I showed you earlier. Now before we go, there's one more topic I wanted to cover because it kind of fits with the paper arena, and that is envelopes. This is another thing where high quality envelopes really hold up much better. So if you create a card with some embellishments on it, a thicker envelope will hold up better through the mail. and it really gives a nice finished look to something that you spent a lot of time making. Now there are two brands of envelopes that I use most, and the first is the Simon Says Stamp envelope brand. Now the Simon Says Stamp envelopes are available in many colors, many of which even have a metallic finish. Most of them have the square flap with the little self-stick adhesive strip, so you just peel that off and it sticks, and it holds very well. Now some of them, as I mentioned, do have a metallic finish to them. And then some of them have a V-flap to them, like this red one that you see here. It's a fancy V-flap. And I'll link to them all, and you can see in the description which each particular envelope is. They also have a vellum envelope that's like a clear one that you can put through the mail, and even a wood envelope. Lots of options there, and even some variety packs. Now the other brand of envelopes that I use often are the Gina K Designs envelopes. As I mentioned, she has the cardstocks, inks, and envelopes that all match, and there are some beautiful colors here. I just love that turquoise sea. And I believe all of her envelopes have a traditional square flap on them. These are all nice and thick, so I find if I have a card maybe with some Nouveau drops or a few layers of paper, I really can trust that these envelopes are thick enough that I don't have to worry about damaging my card. However, if I do have a card that has a lot of thickness to it or a lot of embellishments, I do put my card and envelope in a padded envelope for mailing. And by the way, I have a swatch ring here of all my envelopes because I use them so much. I always need to know what color to go back and order. Okay, so there you have my favorite papers, adhesives, and envelopes of 2017. Be sure to go to my blog for discount codes and more information. I have a lot of these supplies linked below in my YouTube description also. In the middle are a couple other videos that might be helpful to you, including last year's version of this, which also has great options. Thanks so much for sticking with me for this long video, and we'll see you again very soon.